You use it every single day. You work for it. You stress about it. You dream about it. But here's a question almost nobody can answer. What actually is money? It's not gold. It's not paper. It's not numbers on a screen. Money is something far more powerful and far more strange than any of those things. Money is a story that billions of people agreed to believe in at the same time. And the moment people stop believing in it, it becomes worthless paper overnight. Today we're going back to the very beginning, before banks, before coins, before paper, all the way to a time when humans first looked at each other and asked, how do we trade fairly? This is the entire history of money, and by the end of this video, you will never look at the cash in your wallet the same way again. Go back 10,000 years. No money exists anywhere on Earth. You're a farmer. You grew wheat this season, more than you can eat. Your neighbor is a fisherman. He has more fish than he needs. Simple, right? You trade wheat for fish. Everyone wins. This is called barter, and for small communities, it actually worked. But then humans built bigger villages, then cities, and barter started falling apart fast because barter has one fatal flaw. It only works if you want exactly what the other person has and they want exactly what you have at the exact same time. Economists call this the double coincidence of wants. Imagine you have wheat, you need shoes. The shoemaker doesn't want wheat, he wants meat. The butcher doesn't want wheat either, he wants wood. The woodcutter wants wheat. But you need shoes, not wood. You spend your entire day trading and still end up with no shoes. This problem drove humanity insane for thousands of years, until someone had an idea that changed civilization forever. What if everyone agreed on one thing that everyone would always accept? The first forms of money were not coins. They were not paper. They were things that people already valued and agreed to use as a universal exchange. Different civilizations picked different things. In China and large parts of Africa, cowrie shells became money. Small, smooth, beautiful, and hard to fake. They were used as currency for over 4,000 years, making them one of the longest-lasting forms of money in human history. In ancient Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq, people used grain and silver weighed on scales. The world's first banks were actually grain warehouses, where farmers deposited their wheat and received clay tablets as receipts. Those clay tablets could then be traded. The world's first paper money made of clay in Rome. And across the ancient world, salt was so valuable, it was used to pay soldiers. The word salary comes directly from the Latin word for salt, salarium. When we say someone is worth their salt today, we are using a phrase that is thousands of years old. In West Africa, large iron bars were currency. In North America, Native Americans used wampum, strings of carefully crafted shell beads. In ancient Egypt, copper and grain. All of these worked for one reason. Everyone in that society agreed they had value. That agreement, that shared belief, is what made them money. Around 600 BC, something happened in a small kingdom called Lydia, in what is now modern Turkey, that changed commerce forever. The Lydians invented the coin. Not just a piece of metal, but a standardized piece of metal stamped with an official mark by the government guaranteeing its weight and purity. Before this, if you wanted to pay with silver, you had to carry chunks of silver and a scale everywhere you went. Every transaction involved weighing metal and arguing about its purity. It was slow, complicated, and easy to cheat. The coin solved all of that instantly. A coin stamped by the king said, "This is exactly how much silver this contains." No scale needed, no argument, just count the coins. The idea spread like wildfire. Greece, Persia, India, China. Within a few centuries, coins were everywhere. Different kingdoms made different coins with different faces, different sizes, different metals, but they all worked on the same principle. A trusted authority guarantees the value. You don't have to check. You don't have to weigh. You just believe the stamp. Sound familiar? That trust in an authority guaranteeing value, that principle never left. It still runs every currency on Earth today. Here's a moment in history that almost nobody knows, and it's extraordinary. In 7th century China during the Tang dynasty, merchants faced a new problem. They were getting rich, very rich, and carrying thousands of heavy copper coins across long distances was dangerous. You could be robbed, and the weight alone was exhausting. So they came up with a solution. They deposited their coins with trusted merchants in the city. Those merchants gave them a paper receipt, and those paper receipts, called flying money, could be traded instead of the actual coins. You're looking at the birth of paper money in 7th century China. By the 10th century, the Chinese government took over and started printing the world's first official paper currency, called jiaozi. When Marco Polo arrived in China in the 13th century and saw people trading pieces of paper for real goods, he was completely stunned. He wrote about it in his journals, and when he brought the idea back to Europe, people thought he was lying. The idea that a piece of paper could be worth something to Europeans at that time seemed absolutely insane. It took Europe another 400 years to catch up to what China had already been doing. By the Middle Ages in Europe, a new problem emerged. Gold and silver coins were valuable, so valuable that carrying them was dangerous. Robbery was everywhere. Wars were constant. Wealthy merchants started leaving their gold with goldsmiths, craftsmen who already had strong vaults to protect their own materials. The goldsmiths gave them paper receipts. Sound familiar? But then something happened that would define modern banking forever. The goldsmiths noticed something. People rarely came back to collect all their gold at the same time. Most of the gold just sat in the vault, untouched. So the goldsmiths started doing something quietly. They lent out some of that gold to other people and charged interest. They were lending money they didn't fully own. When this became official and legal, it became what we now call fractional reserve banking. Banks keep only a fraction of deposits in reserve and lend out the rest, which means the money that gets lent out gets deposited somewhere else, then lent out again, creating new money from nothing. This is how most money in the modern world is actually created, not printed by governments, but created by banks making loans. It is one of the most powerful and most misunderstood mechanisms in all of human civilization. For most of modern history, paper money had a safety net. Gold. Governments promised that every paper bill in circulation was backed by real gold sitting in a vault. If you didn't trust the paper, you could theoretically trade it in for actual gold. This was called the gold standard. It made people trust paper money because the paper represented something real. Then came the 20th century, 2 world wars, the Great Depression, massive government spending. Countries started printing more paper money than they had gold to back it. And on August 15, 1971, American President Richard Nixon made an announcement that shocked the world. The United States would no longer exchange dollars for gold. Just like that, the last link between paper money and anything physical was cut. From that day forward, the US dollar, and soon every major currency on Earth, became what is called fiat money. Money that has value not because it's backed by gold or silver, but because the government says it does, because people believe it does. The entire global economy now runs on a shared belief, nothing more, nothing less. By the late 20th century, even physical cash started fading. Credit cards appeared in the 1950s. At first, people were suspicious. Why would anyone lend you money just to spend it? But the convenience won. Then came debit cards, ATMs, online banking, and suddenly you could move money across the world in seconds without touching a single coin or bill. Today, the vast majority of money that exists is not physical at all. It is numbers on screens, entries in databases, digital promises. In some countries like Sweden and Norway, cash has nearly disappeared entirely. Shops refuse it. People don't carry it. Everything is a tap, a click, a scan. Money had gone from seashells and cattle, things you could hold, taste, and weigh, to numbers floating invisibly in computer servers around the world. And then in 2009, one anonymous person or group, using the name Satoshi Nakamoto, published a document that asked a question nobody had seriously asked before. What if money didn't need a government at all? Bitcoin was born in the wreckage of the 2008 global financial crisis, a moment when millions of people watched banks collapse, governments print trillions of dollars overnight, and the entire financial system nearly fall apart. Satoshi Nakamoto's idea was radical: create a currency that no single government, bank, or person controls, a currency governed by mathematics and code instead of trust in institutions. Bitcoin runs on a technology called blockchain, a public record of every transaction ever made stored across thousands of computers worldwide simultaneously. No single point of control, no single point of failure. For the first time in human history, two people on opposite sides of the planet could exchange value directly, without a bank in the middle, without a government's permission, without anyone's approval. Whether Bitcoin becomes the future of money or remains a bold experiment, it forced the entire world to ask a question humanity had never seriously questioned before. Who decides what money is? From seashells on a beach in ancient China to numbers on a blockchain in the digital cloud, money has changed its form 1,000 times, but its essence has never changed once. Money is trust. Money is a story. Money is the thing that works, as long as enough people believe in it. The cowrie shell worked because people believed it. The gold coin worked because people believed it. The paper dollar works because people believe it. And Bitcoin works, or doesn't, based on exactly the same thing. And here's the thought I want to leave you with. Every great financial revolution in history happened when the old story stopped being believable and a new one took its place. We might be living through the next one right now. What do you think money will look like in 100 years? Drop your answer in the comments. I genuinely want to know. And if this video changed how you think about the money in your pocket, share it with one person, because this is a story everyone deserves to know.